we started talking about the subject of a sentence and how you find it in our last class. Today we're going to do a quick review of that, and then we're going to move on. So Julia and Hannah, you really need to focus up on this part, okay? Because we're going to do a quick review of what we did last class, and then we're going to move on. So, remembering from last class, always, always, always?
Find the verb first.
Once more with feeling. Always, always, always?
Find the verb first.
Excellent. And Rosie gave us a little sign over there on the bulletin board to decorate our class. Always, 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 find the verb first. Every other word in the sentence relates back to that verb in some way, has something to do with it. So we need to find the verb and then we can figure out the rest. So, quick review. What is a subject of a sentence? Andy, you ready? Go ahead.
The subject of the sentence does the verb.
The subject of the sentence does the verb. Good. Anybody got another way to think about that? Another way you could phrase it? Come on.
The who or what that's doing the doing.
Okay, nice. The who or what that's doing the doing. You're both correct. Who or what is doing the doing, or the action, or the verb? And Andy said it. How did you say it again?
I forgot.
It's the same thing. You meant the same thing, right? So we find the verb, and once you've got that verb, you have to ask yourself this question to find the subject. Who or what is doing it? Okay? So yes, Giselle, what's verbing? Okay, what is the subject of this sentence? And if you can't see, we've got a cartoon here, Calvin and Hobbes. They're making a little snowball there. He's got one snowman who dove off of a diving board and has impaled himself into the ground. This snowman is laughing as he shoves a tennis racket through the ears of the other snowman. This snowman's playing golf with his own head. Okay? And Calvin says to Hobbes, Mom and Dad don't value hard work and originality as much as they say they do. So he's frustrated that his parents don't appreciate the creativity that goes into creating his snowman house of horrors. Right? So, first, we gotta find the verb, right? Find the verb first. What's the verb in this statement that Calvin is making? Mom and Dad don't value hard work and originality as much as they say they do. I mean, the verb. What's the verb?
Oh, wait.
Take your time. Mom and Dad
Oh,
don't value.
I thought this said appreciate for a second. Oh, forget it. Wait. Can you say this?
Sure thing. Mom and Dad don't value hard work and originality as much as they think
No,
they
it's
do.
not.
Mustafa, let him think.
I don't.
Yeah, why are you saying don't?
Chloe.
Value.
Chloe.
I don't value.
Value is only part of it. Talia.
Do.
That's another part of it.
Oh, I know.
How about the whole thing, Riley?
Hard work, value, hard work, and originality. I don't know.
What?
Verb, Riley. We're only looking at the verb here. What is the verb, the action, the doing? What is being done? Andy?
Do not value.
Yes, absolutely correct. Don't value.
I was not sure, but I asked about
Value, the main verb is value. But we've got some helping verbs that affect the meaning. Don't value is really what's happening. That's what's going on. You're letting your laptop open. We don't need to be on there right now. Close it up. You were looking at it. We need to be looking up here. So, don't value is our verb, right? Who or what isn't valuing? Who or what isn't valuing? Anwar. Right, exactly right. Mom and Dad. So Mom and Dad is the subject of the sentence. What are they doing? They're not valuing. Now, Riley, what they are not valuing is his creativity and originality. But then that becomes the object of the sentence. And we haven't even talked about objects yet, so we're not going to get into that right now. Verb, don't value. Subject, Mom and Dad. Okay? So far, that's all been a review. Here's the new part. Does the subject of a sentence always have to come first? So far, every sentence that we've talked about has had, really the subject has been the very first word or words in the sentence, shortly followed by the verb. Is that always how it is, Christian? What do you think? You're guessing. No, it is not always first. That's the short answer. The longer answer is, usually it is. Usually the subject is the first thing in a sentence, but certainly not always. So let's take a look at an example. Here's another one. We've got Calvin's snowman, where he's got a guy out on safari, and he's come across a headhunter, and he's got lots of little miniature head-shrinking snowman heads in the bag. And Mom's looking over her shoulder and says to Dad, On the other hand, the neighbors keep planting nice big trees next to us. Why is that funny? Why? I mean, they don't want to see Calvin's snowman house of horrors, so they're putting up this big tree wall. And she's like, well, it's kind of nice. And on the other hand, and they have to look at this. So, the sentence is, on the other hand, the neighbors keep planting nice big trees next to us. What's the verb in this sentence? What's the verb in this sentence? Wesley?
Planting or keep planting?
Keep planting, absolutely right. Keep planting. Planting is the main verb. Keep is helping modify that. Keep planting is our verb. So, on the other hand, the neighbors keep planting nice big trees next to us. Who or what keeps planting? Hannah?
Neighbors.
Yes. Keep planting is the verb, the neighbors are the subject. Okay? In this case, it's not the first thing in the sentence. She starts it here with a dependent clause. That's why we've got a comma separating it out. When you do that, when you start with a dependent clause, you're not putting your subject first. That's going to be in the independent part of the sentence. Which makes sense if you remember what we said about independent sentences and dependent sentences. You remember the difference? What's an independent clause, an independent sentence? Yusef?
Something that can stand on its own.
Something that can stand all by itself. It doesn't need anybody else's help. Well, you have to have a subject to do that. Last night I was grading some work from writing from my 7th graders. And I was putting a lot of comments on their writing that they wrote sentence fragments or incomplete sentences. They have whole sentences with no one doing any of the action. They didn't actually put a subject in there at all. That's not done. It's not complete. So whenever you start a sentence with that dependent part that could stand alone by itself, you know your subject's not in there. But you don't even have to really worry about all that. Find the verb, the subject's doing it. Okay? Find the verb first and the subject's doing it. Let's look at the next. One more. Amin, what's the verb in this sentence? In science today, Timmy danced on his lab table.
Dance.
Yeah, danced. Maud, who or what danced?
Timmy.
Timmy. So we've got the verb here, and we've got our subject there. Again, we started out with the dependent part, so we've got our subject later on. Okay? Clear? We good? Let's do an activity. I have sentence strips. They all have sentences on them that have subjects and verbs. There's a problem with the verb though. In each of these, the subject and the verb don't agree. One's plural, one's singular, they need to be matched. Okay? So I'm going to give each table a sentence strip. I want you to decide how to fix the sentence. Then I'm going to give you a piece of chart paper. You're going to rewrite the sentence correctly, underline the verbs, circle the subject, and fix the verb that needs fixing. Questions? All right, I'll give you this first, and then I'll get you started with the markers and the paper.
You're gonna write it on a marker because you have the best handwriting.
Among the unusually boxes, 3 boys was found with smiles and
Talia, tell us what your sentence says and what you think needs to be changed.
So the sentence says, on the old middle school field, Andy practiced football every night.
What's wrong with it?
It's, practice isn't right. It doesn't go well with Andy, so it's
Correct.
supposed to be, on the old middle school field, Andy practices football every night.
Practices football every night? Okay, that would work. Is there anything else that would work?
Or you could just change Andy to...
Practiced. Yes,
Oh, okay.
Julia. Thank you. Practiced would work as well if this was in the past tense. So go ahead and write that up and then underline the verb and circle the subject. Okay, what does it say?
Which color should we do it in?
Among the empty pizza boxes, 3 boys were found.
It says were?
3 boys was found with smiles and full stomachs.
And what's wrong with it?
It says was and not were.
It says was and not were. Okay, so you fixed it like this?
Yes.
Circling the subject,
Yes.
underlining it, making it were found. Good.
Yeah.
Piece of cake.